Oracle is finally live, and I'm very proud to introduce it to you today. Let's start by adding it to our chart from the indicators, VMC Oracle. And what I'll do is I'll go through this very slowly. We will be combining several indicators to show you how to best utilize this indicator. So the first thing I want you to do is, after you've added the indicator to your chart, is to ensure that you're on 24-minute time frame. We'll dive into the settings very quickly here. If you go over to the input tab, what you've got is the 21 EMA, the 200 EMA, and the time frame that we are going to be using for this demonstration will be 24-minute and also 60-minute, which translates to 1 hour. So for the 24-minute, you'll need to select 24-minute here, which is the default setting, and ensure that the time frame here is set to 24 minutes. Essentially, the way that this indicator works is it will print long and short signals that you can take as a trader. However, we never recommend anyone to simply look at a long or a short signal and take the trade. The reason for that is because typically, if you were to consistently just take every long and every short signal printed by Oracle, eventually you would end up getting in a situation where the trade may go severely in the opposite direction, or there could be even cases where the trade doesn't even play out. So we never advise you to utilize this indicator on its own and to combine it with other confluence. For that confluence, what I'm going to do is add Morpheus, which is one of our other indicators, and Dozer to this demonstration. Very simply, we will go back to the current state of time and have a look at things by ensuring that both of these indicators are used for further confluence when a short or a long signal is printed. Now keep in mind, this is a replacement for our old swing indicator, so it has significant improvements and it's recoded with a completely different logic. So I hope that you see the value. I will mention that you're not getting tons of prints anymore, but you're getting way less frequent prints. So therefore, you'll have to be patient, and when they do print, you'll have to look to ensure that these indicators also give you a great signal to take a long or to take a short. So in the last signal here, we had an entry. I will mark that entry by putting a vertical line, and we'll zoom right into this area. So the entry would have been, in theory, on the candle close is when you want to enter. So it'll be right at the top here. And what I'll do is I will just drop this here, and I will call this entry. Okay. So if this is your entry right here, what you'd want to look at, and I know I have all this data, but I want you to look with me and see why this would have been a really good entry, or the retest would have been a really good entry. And how you can see that is clearly by looking over two things. One, we'll start off with Dozer. I've always said what I like to see with Dozer is I like to see Dozer going across nice and clean and then coming back down nice and clean. When Dozer decides to be very choppy in the middle like this, I'm not really looking for trades. You could see how that translates to a lot of choppiness here. And so what I typically look for when I'm deciding if Dozer is going to give me a good trade or not as one of my confluences is I want Dozer to come in from the bottom and work its way to the top. In this particular case, we have a great example that Dozer has crossed over the center line on Dozer. We also have in the case of Morpheus, and as you all know, I love to zoom in. As you can see, money flow is coming back in, which means people are buying, longs are opening, and therefore it is two reasons why, based on this indicator. Of course, we got a green dot as well, and we have not passed the zero line, the momentum wave. It gives me a great opportunity from these two to consider this as a long. I could wait for a pullback, or I could take the long right over here. Now, assuming you took this long, you could go right here, and if you were to close it at the bare minimum, you'd be about 4%. You'd have tons of time to get out there, and the peak would be about 5%. So that is the benefit of getting in on a long signal utilizing long or a spot signal. So as I've mentioned many times to the people that are in our VIP group when we were testing this and running streams to discuss it, it's best to use this for spot or super low leverage with high amounts of money or whatever you want to do. Of course, this is not a financial advice tool, it's for educational purposes. However, you can decide to use it the way that you feel would be best suitable for your trading style. Having said that, when I've got multiple confluences, I then look for an opportunity to take this long. The price pulls back, it shoots up. The pullback on this one was very minimal. So you go to the bottom wick, it's 0.69%. In an ideal world, if you're going to be taking a long here, you'd want to put your stop loss down here. If that was the case, in this particular trade, that would look something like this. So if you had a stop loss down here, you would be looking at a 2%, okay? And the gains on that, you would be wanting to at least double that, so at 4%, which becomes a 2 to 1. So your risk to reward is like, let's just call it a 2, right? Because really right there, that's what it's gonna be, a 2 to 1. So 1 loss, 2 gain, okay? Hope that makes sense. Let's move over to the next signal that printed and see how that one looked. So this was a nice short. Now, one thing I want to mention is if the price has been going up consistently and then you start receiving the short signal, that is typically a good sign, because if the price has been going down consistently and then you receive a short signal, you really got to look and see what Morpheus and Dozer are saying. In this particular case, the prices has been going up. It's kind of getting to the end of that momentum. You start seeing a lot of different colors and we call these Christmas tree lights, but we start getting a bunch of these on top of your Morpheus momentum wave and you get this print. So you get this print, we are still above the zero, money flow is sort of to the side, but Dozer is clearly going from the top down in a perfectly straight line, and right over here you could get in on this candle right here. So your entry for that would look something like this. Okay, so that would be a short entry. In this particular case, there was no really, in this particular case, the price did not really have a drawback, but just decided to come straight down. So let's do the measured move of that trade. And that at the top end would be 9%. You could take profits at 4%, 6%, and 9% essentially. And so what would that ever look like for a stop loss? That's always the question people ask me. Where do I put my stop loss? It's very simple. If you're going to enter here, then you should be prepared to put your stop loss above that swing failure move where the price could not go further. And you'd want to be taking at least double that, right? Otherwise, it's not worth it. So you could take some profits here. You could take some profits here. I'd like to mention this to all my viewers and especially to the VIPs. We are not looking to close our trades fully unless this is intended as a scalp. This is more of a swing tool. You do want to take partial profits on the way down as opposed to fully closing your trade, because nobody knows, maybe 43 was a top and we end up going down to 23,000, and you can keep this position even with 10% of your margin or 20% of your margin. When you start going in extremely deep, that all of a sudden becomes a substantial amount. Keep that in mind. Again, I hope that that helps you a bit. Let me just undo that. Okay, let's head over to this next signal. Actually, these are all really good signals, so I'm not going to really spend time on those. And look for a not so great signal and show you why it would be less rewarding, let's say, if you were to take that. This is a fantastic trade, by the way, but I'm not even going to bother with it. It's a clear opportunity. Everything here looked great, but you guys have by now understand how that works. And I will talk about the EMAs in a moment, but ultimately, in this particular case, we've got a trade that if you were to look at the trade in itself, maybe it doesn't look that great. But if you got in right at the candle close, you did reach 1.25%. Then you also got, a 1.52% rejection. You see the difference is that the price is now starting to uptrend from a severe sideways move downtrend. It's now on an uptrend. And so you need to be looking at the trend and to take a short on an uptrend is typically not a very good idea. Even if you were to look at this as spot, if you bought it down here for say 39,000 and you're selling it over here at 42, the amount of gains are minimal versus just waiting it out to kind of see it round off and come back down. And again, that's where your higher time frames on Morpheus is going to be a dead giveaway for that. So let's look over here again together. So let's just zoom right into this guy. So this would have been ultimately the entry to take. Now look at the difference between that signal and the other ones that I covered with you. First and foremost, if you look at Morpheus, the red dot that's supposed to be for a short signal is actually on the opposite side. So this is the top side, this is the bottom side. It's on the opposite side, signifying that the move is already pretty exhausted in this direction. We are looking for a green for a up move. So it's really not the smartest short to be taking. You also have stochastic. I mean, this is a slightly modified stochastic design-wise, but it's moving to the upside stochastic. So you've got that as a discrepancy right there. And then ultimately, you also look at dozer, and as I mentioned, we're not coming down straight from the bottom across. We're chopping around, and as you can see, this choppiness continues. So again, not the greatest time to be taking this trade. However, it did reach 1%. So just to keep that in mind, you know, because I know I'm going to hear it that, you know, there's bad signals there. It's really only bad if you take them without using any other confluence. If you purely use this indicator 100% on its own and look at nothing else, in that case, I would say buy DCA every time you see a green, and every time you see a red, sell a little bit. That's it. DCA in, DCA out, DCA in, DCA out. You'll grow your bags and you'll grow your USDT likewise. So right over here, what we've got is another print, and this print obviously went in the opposite direction, 2.6%, and finally ended up going up 4.4%, and actually went up substantially more because, you know, if we zoom out, you can kind of see. Now you could probably understand how the spot buying would make so much sense, because that's a 15% move to the upside. Again, going back to this signal, when you look at dozer went across, okay? You're supposed to get in on the next candle, and already, this is the beauty of dozer, and one of the reasons why we invented it. It's very accurate as far as showing you the change, but not showing you that it's fully over, just giving you an idea that things are kind of changing. From this rapid straight up move, we're now getting an angle, kind of an angle over here, showing you that there's a delay, there's going to be a stop in that movement. So is it really a good opportunity to take a long? You know, in this particular case, it's a good long, a good long, a good long, a good long. Obviously, this one will be a great long if you were to take it before it crosses. But then when you get here on this is already right over here, we've already got dozer bending to the right, showing that there's weakness coming in. It's not a straight line. I hope that makes sense. And that's what causes this choppiness to happen. And so what happens is it comes down and eventually goes up. So if you saw this and then you saw we got bottom and you got this divergence, which is, this is just a bullish divergence, is when you get a checkbox in your guys' version, you would probably see a small rocket ship icon, but in my case, I put a checkbox. So you can change that very easily in the settings. As you may know, you can check out the Morpheus video to understand how to use Morpheus best. But yeah, ultimately what we've got here is this would have been a better entry than this one. However, I still don't like this entry because it hasn't crossed over yet. So if you waited until all this mess is over with, hasn't crossed over yet. So right here would be a good, for me personally, I would either take it right here, or I would take it when I see it getting close to crossing over, just to be safe. And now if you got it on this one, your drawback is less than 1%, and then the price pumps up significantly. So it doesn't have to be where when you see the signal, you should immediately jump in and take the trade, as opposed to when you see the signal, look to see if that's going to be a good trade to take or not, using some rules that you've created for yourself. These indicators are great. So that's a great signal, of course. I don't have to really cover that. This was that extreme bottom at the 34, so you were able to get in on that and technically could have still been riding that. I won't waste more time going through every one of these signals because I think by now you get the concept. However, I want to also look at 1 hour. So for the 1 hour, you'll need to select 60-minute time frame, okay? For those of you who don't have shortcuts here, all you got to do is type on your keyboard without doing anything, 60, and press enter. That gives you the 60 minutes, okay? And now we can look and see that the signals are going to be different, okay? So this signal, this was a short that we got on 60-minute time frame, a 1 hour time frame. We didn't get another one for a while. So the wait in between these signals is going to be very long, okay? Now in this case, right over here, I'm going to show you something. If I put a vertical line here, go back to 24-minute time frame, and also select 24-minute time frame here, you could see how we have two confirmations on 24-minute and on 1 hour, and we see everything here looks really good down here. Money flow is coming back in. We're going across from the oversold area as we discussed. It is a great opportunity to take a long. That's a double confirmation. So what you could do as a trader is you could, I'm going to undo this in a moment, but I'll just show you very quickly. You could select a 2x2 and you could have 24-minute, and down here you could have your, or you could have vice versa. You could over here have your 1 hour, and in your 1 hour, I'm going to remove the indicator just to show you. And in the 1 hour, what you could do is select 1 hour, and in the 24-minute, you can select, make sure, I just want to make sure it's on 24, yeah, 24 minutes, and you can then do a comparison. So as you can see, this signal at the top left corner of my screen, it's also showing on 24-minute time frame, okay? And so we'll go over with 24-minute time frames, see what the next one is. There are going to be ones that are giving you, there's another one right there ultimately, nope, that one's not it. That big one is going to be there, that one right there, okay? So that's kind of a great opportunity for you as a trader to utilize two time frames to get that double confirmation. There's a double confirmation again. And if you look every single time, I mean, we'll just look at this one, just, I'll pick it up right here. I'm not going to zoom in, but that was a 28% move to the upside. Okay. This one here, that was a 20% move to the upside. So you get a good understanding of how all of that would work together. I'm going to undo this and go back to my 24-minute time frame, because I want to actually cover these lines and also the EMAs. So the lines here, the way they work is that they move as time moves. So as time moves, these lines will continue to move. I'll show you an example. So we'll go back here, okay? And I'm going to get rid of these two guys. I don't need these, and I don't need that, and I don't need that, okay? Actually don't need any of this. So what I've got here is the regression line. I'm using the replay. So there's your replay instrument, and you can see forward, or you could press play. So if you do shift and forward on your keyboard, you can play 1 bar at a time. And you can see how that line is constantly moving, right? So it's always moving. It's not going to be, you can't be like, oh, I should have taken this short because it was in the red area, or I should have taken this long because it was in the green area, because this is constantly moving, okay? Having said that, if in that point in time that you're about to take that short or to take that long, okay, in this particular case, a long would have been very ideal, right? And you can see right here how this price action is not in the center decision area. It is absolutely in a great area, because think of these as 6 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The deeper down we go into these levels, the better likelihood of that's why the color becomes brighter. It's a higher likelihood that if you take a long from that area, it will be in your favor. Of course, you're using this with other confluence, as we've discussed several times, Dozer, you're looking at Morpheus. So that would have been a great long because of where it is. It actually hit the 4th line. 6 and outside of 6 is almost a guarantee, trade. I'm not going to say it is, because it could continue still in the opposite direction. But typically, if you look at other things, you will see that it's exhausted in that direction when it pierces outside of these lines. And so the opposite would be that if it's up here in the red areas, you would take a short. So now we can also look for that. Let's see over here how that looks. You can see it again. So there you go. It's outside, okay? And if you look at, again, holding the shift button and playing forward, let's say I open up a short right there, 40,525, okay? There you go. So point proven. Doesn't have to be that you use these lines with the printed signals. However, when you combine them together, right, and you've got the price all the way bottomed out, okay, and then you get a long signal from the bottom working its way back up, that's a good indication that this is actually a legitimate opportunity to take a long. The 21 EMA, you can do your independent research on, but the price hugs the 21 EMA. Typically continues to weave through the candles. What in an ideal world we'd like to see is that we find support on the 21 and then we make our way over to the 200. If you're on a downtrend, however, that's not going to be the case. We could stay under the 200 EMA for an extended period of time. If we end up working our way above here and find support on the 200 and you get a signal and Morpheus says, and Dozer says it's a good opportunity to take a long, then that would be an amazing opportunity to take a long. It doesn't have a guarantee with it, obviously, but it's the highest likelihood. That's all we're looking for here, the highest likelihood. So again, let's say that you took that long. Obviously, we know how that's going to play out. The price found support on the 21. Okay, it's trying to get through that 200, and it's, as you can see, it's a clear rejection off the 200 EMA. And there it tries to get over. You need to have a candle close above that. There's your candle close above. There's your second one. So as you can see now, the price is already maxed out. It wants to go higher. As you can see clearly here, the price is outside of the red lines, which is giving an amazing opportunity for you to take a short. So again, we've already looked at that, and the price 21, right there we go. It bounced off the 21 once. It's now going to turn it into resistance, and now it's going, there you go. It worked its way down to the 200 and broke the 200, and now they crossed over as well. So that is a great short that you could have taken. Obviously, you could be adding other things to your chart to help you, but I have had success utilizing Dozer, Morpheus, Oracle, and trying to really identify support and resistance zones. And so for that, you would go to a higher time frame and just try and understand, where does it look like it's a top and where does it look like it's a bottom. In this particular case, I will use the parallel channels and I will just draw something to the effect of that. And I will go up here and draw something to the effect of that. Okay? And just for this demo, this is more of a bonus for you guys who are watching this video. But you know, really what I'm looking for is, I want to be taking longs down here, seeing the reaction here, potentially shorting or finding support and taking another long up here, and definitely looking to short unless the price finds a breakout out of this channel. We've been now in the side of this channel for 112 days. Let's call it 113. Okay, so that's what you want to look for. You don't want to be taking longs up here. You don't want to be taking shorts down here. And you know, you definitely want to see what the signals look like. So we can look at that together now, and you could see how beautifully that plays out. There's a short up in this area. You've got, yeah, we've got a short opportunity right here. We've got divergence, Dozer's at the top, right? So you kind of get the idea. Whereas this short, if you look, it actually was on top getting support. You need to at least get resistance, right? And so on and so forth. Again, these are more technical things. A lot of this I do cover inside of our VMC Oracle channel on Discord. You can go ahead and join for free, and if you choose to become a VIP, all the instructions are there for you. With a VIP membership, you would obtain 4 of our indicators, plus have access to a VIP area on our Discord where we discuss potential trades, talk about altcoins, and all sorts of other great things like VIP charts and so on and so forth. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. If you liked what you watched, please click like. I'm happy to hear your comments down below as well. I have been away from YouTube for some time because I've been very busy, but I'm planning to start getting quite active again on YouTube. I thank you for watching and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.